this is going to be a first time kind of thing. I'm going to need you guys to have a little patience in more ways than one because I'm trying out this website, Playback TV, it's called. And the reason I'm a little intrigued by this website because they actually allow people to, I mean, this is free marketing. If anyone at Playback, if you have money, if you're not making money, it's fine. But if you got a couple of shekels, I'm about to give you some good marketing and advertising. But this is true. One of the big scams out there, one of the big problems are that people are watching games, especially you guys know if you place bets on sports and other people that you know are betting on sports and you're watching the same game. If that one guy still has cable and you have Hulu TV, you're 15 minutes behind and he ruins every big play for you. Well, Playback TV has streams of the games where you can be watching, like I can be watching a game and the stream is up of the game with my like Steve Dangle-esque reactions as it's going on. Now, the only thing as of right now this season, they only have the NBA. So it's people, it's, Lamar Odom. Is he still alive? I hope he's still alive. I don't keep tabs on some of these older players. I just remember one time he had something serious in the hospital. Kardashians. I'm sorry, Lamar. I don't know if he's alive or not. But you can have Lamar Odom if he's still alive on a stream with the game going on. So that provides some sort of interesting perspective. And rumor has it, there's like an 80% chance there's going to be the NHL feature on here. So if there's the NHL feature on here, there are essentially, you can count on one hand the amount of hockey personalities that have a lot of things to say while a game is on. And you can imagine the one with the power glove in front of you is one of them. So I am intrigued by this Playback TV, which is why I'm giving it a crack. And if I don't know, if I open the settings properly and I input the stuff properly, then I think this is also streaming on Twitter and YouTube. So the purpose of this video is I'm going to be breaking down the Hurricanes, Rangers, much anticipated round 2 matchup. I was mentioning last night, this has to be the first time in the history of the NHL. Watch, somebody's going to find it in 5 minutes. But then again, sports betting wasn't legal. So did they really include, who was keeping track of the lines, pre 4 years ago? But this has to be the first time that a President's Trophy winner was the underdog in round 2 of the playoffs. And let alone, that's a big minus 150 I saw on Caesars Sportsbook for the Carolina Hurricanes last night. And I don't know, that's pretty wild considering a couple of things. I mean, they've had decent success, the Rangers, that is, against the Hurricanes. And we're going to talk about that success because people really love pointing, that gargoyle mindset of, we beat them in the playoffs 2 years ago. We beat them most of the time. We beat them during the regular season this year. We're going to win. Yeah, that's how it works. Just ask the Winnipeg Jets how good that theory works as they went 4-0 against the Colorado Avalanche, destroyed the Avalanche in their own building 6-0 to end the season, to get home ice in round 1, just to get completely waxed and blitzkrieged by the Colorado Avalanche. And those same New York Rangers were like undefeated against Vasilevsky and the Lightning. They essentially never beat Shesterkin. I think Shesterkin was undefeated against Vasilevsky, and then they destroyed them in games 1 and 2 of the playoffs. It's over. I mean, he can't be. We own the light. And they lost 4 straight. So don't let that idiotic narrative. I say this many times. The regular season is to preseason what the postseason is to the regular season. The regular season is people moonwalking around. Did you watch the Toronto-Boston game last night? Did you see a lot of quality opportunities out there? That's what the majority of these Rangers Canes games are going to look like. You got a little preview of that the last time they played. They traded for Jake Gensel, and that next game was a highly anticipated matchup. I don't know. I counted 2 good scoring chances the entire game that ended up 1-0. So for those of you who have no interest in hockey, you just want to come here, like I call you virtual Vikings, your digital Vikings who want to pillage my videos and take picks and make money. There you go. There's going to be a bunch of unders involved. And now you're already on the other site. You're already on another site taking the alt under on game one. I'm not going to say that's the dumbest thing ever. Look at the last game. Look at game one last time around, and we will talk about that previous series. I have a little outline that I made right here, and this is funny. I want to tell you guys where I got this quickly. This is the Sweet Chin board. As you can see, Shawn Michaels is kicking Ric Flair in the face. My old job, we needed a whiteboard to communicate things, like just random extensions to different offices and whatnot, and an easy whiteboard to have it up there. So I was like, let me handle this. And I went to customize a whiteboard, and I don't know why. I called it the Sweet Chin board. It was the best I came up with. And I tried doing it on whiteboards.com and a couple different sites, and they denied me. They're like, we can't make that. You don't own that picture of Ric Flair getting kicked in the face. I was like, you're right. I guess I can't make it. And then eventually I just went to one company. They're like, all right, yeah, we'll do it. So this is the Sweet Chin board that got made for the purpose of work. But then once that office kind of got eliminated from the playoffs, I took it. And now it's got a great, dual meaning, because I like to put things up there who need to get taken out, like some Sweet Chin music, like the Seattle Kraken were on that board last year, and once they got eliminated, we got to cross their list off. But I got some Canes Rangers topics, and the first one you could see goaltending, and you're going to think nothing of this. People will make you think nothing of this, but I certainly think something of this because I have eyes, and I've watched the game, played the game, and I've seen this not a long time ago, not in 1996, under 1 year ago, and under 2 years ago. Sergei Bobrovsky stole game after game after game after game. Oh, I'm not done. After game after game in the postseason last year. Straight up robbery. You look at that sweep of the Canes. The Canes outplayed them for the majority of that series. They could not beat Bobrovsky. Nobody could. I mean, they beat the Leafs in 5. And then those games against Boston, when they came back, he was playing great toward the end of that series. That's when he was building up that momentum. Well, they sweep the Canes, mostly due to his play, and then they get, 10 to 12 days off? And it was a completely different Bobrovsky. This is a mental position. The same way they held out Shesterkin for an extra period of time to work on the mental part of his game. It is something to be worried about. Now, I personally think Shesterkin, after Vasilevsky, is the guy I would want if there was a Hell Bowl. The Monstars of hockey came here. My first goalie is Vasilevsky, and my second goalie is Shesterkin. I honestly think he is as good as it gets in this league, and I guess that's pretty evidenced by the fact that after game 2 of that, or game 4 of that Pittsburgh series, because they were homes, game 1 and 2, he has not conceded more than 3 goals in every single game. And they've lost 2 series since then. So to never give up more than 3 and lose a series twice means you're doing your job and more. So Shesterkin gives them an advantage in net for certain, but not nearly as big of an advantage as 2 years ago. But that 10-day layoff is something to watch. Even if he's still good, but not at the elite level that he ended the season at, that's a pretty big difference. 2 years ago, so Bobrovsky was last year, the brick wall that was Andrei Vasilevsky in game 6 and game 7 against Toronto, and then games 1, 2, 3, 4 against Florida in a sweep of the President's Trophy winners. And then I don't know who the hell that guy was in games 1 and 2 against the Rangers, letting in floating wrist shots from the top of the circle. So I've seen 2 Vezina candidates, Vezina winners, play awful after 10 days off. It's not ludicrous to think that an extended layoff can have negative effects on a goalie, a very mental position. You ever talk to these goalies? You ever see these goalies? You ever see Sorokin and Shesterkin hanging out? They're a bunch of weirdos. And that's just what it takes. That's what it takes sometimes to be a good goalie, but they can get in their head. as was evidenced by the fact that after the All-Star break, it was Jonathan Quick getting starts because they were still working on Shesterkin. So it is something to think about heading into game one. Now let's go to the second bullet point here. And this is huge. This is the biggest part of this series. I know it sounds ridiculous to say officiating, but really the officiating really is just kind of putting at the forefront how important that Rangers power play is. The Rangers power play is this entire series. And it wasn't just this entire series. It's been every single series that the Rangers have won or lost in the past two postseasons. You look at their last two playoff eliminations. Power play was working against Jersey early in the series. Power play cooled down, lost 4 or 5. Against the Tampa Bay Lightning, power play was lighting it up. Games 1, 2, and even game 3, they scored 2 goals and went up 2-0. Could have won that game. Then it cooled down, lost 4 straight. The Rangers power play is one of the nastiest weapons, right up there with Tampa's, with Colorado's, with Edmonton's. And this is going to be their key once again, just as it was 2 years ago against the Canes. These two teams have the top combined power play penalty kill combos. They will tell you that the Hurricanes have the best power play and penalty kill combined in the league. I don't agree with that because the Rangers power play is battle tested, meaning it's different in the playoffs. It's just a little bit different. It's not as easy to be as efficient. And the Carolina power play, for example, they roll out 2 units. First unit gets a minute, second unit gets a minute. That's usually the tell that it's not one of the ultra elite units, although they had an unbelievable year in terms of the metrics. But the Rangers power play, as you saw in round 1, it's battle tested and it's performed against this Carolina team in the past. On the other side, Carolina 2 years ago had the number 1 penalty kill in the league. Number 1. There wasn't any better. The power play single-handedly won the Rangers that series against the Carolina Hurricanes. Every single game that the Rangers took a lead, that lead was taken on the power play. So without those power play goals, they're not winning those games. And I'm going to revisit that series for a second because many times when people bring up that series, they just go, oh, well, they beat Carolina 2 years ago. They're just going to beat Carolina again. We're going to bring up these Rangers wins or just goals in this series. Fortunately, one of these guys on YouTube, a Ranger fan, goes, every goal in round 2 versus the Carolina Hurricanes. And it made it nice and easy for me. Well, now, right now, you're just seeing a big black screen of nothing. I don't know if I'm seeing that correctly or incorrectly. But if that is the case, then I'll just talk through some of these because I don't see it. I don't see the YouTube video. Maybe it will pop. But anyway, we just watched it before when I was trying to kind of prep some of this stuff. Play back. We need this YouTube video to be up because that was part of the reason. Anyway, there's a guy on YouTube, and you can look this up. It said every goal versus the Hurricanes. Here's what you need to know. Rangers, they started out the series in Carolina. They got this 1 even strength goal to start the series. That was very good. They ended up losing that game 2-1. They got shut out in game 2. What's going on? I'm here.
Can you try to take yourself out of that like full screen?
Yes.
I think
I told you there was going to be some technical difficulties. I don't think that was it. Because I think when we tested it, I turned that off. I see a pinwheel now.
Yep, I think it's working.
This is what happens when you go live, ladies and gentlemen. You don't know what could happen. What if a scene in Willy Wonka comes up? You get nothing. You know, how classic is this? And we tested it beforehand. maybe I can do my best to explain how this was. So the Rangers, they go up 1-0 in game one, and I will give them credit for that. They did it at even strength. Carolina comes back, wins that game. Rangers get shut out in the next game. Crucial game 3. How did the Rangers get started? With a power play goal. So the power play goal gets them up 1-0. Then they're able to build on that with repeated soft-ass goals against a goaltender who's not even going to be in this series. Antti Raanta is the number 3 on Carolina, and they wrote him out there as their number 1. And here we go. Now, I'm going to go through this once again. Hey, these are the technical. You know what? What else are you doing right? What the hell else is on TV? So this is where the Rangers, they went up 1-0 in game 1. And I give them big credit for that. They didn't score another goal the next 2 games. Here we are, game 3. Rangers down 2-0 in the series. And this ultra elite power play, once again, it's Panarin Zibanejad repeatedly killed them. And I can't imagine that the whole Canes team isn't watching all of I've watched them in preparation to show this to you guys. My thought process is all they're doing is working on these backdoor plays for Zibanejad, and there's only so much you can stop it, but I would take away the weapon that destroyed them multiple times. So now when they have leads in this series, they can build on them. Very frequently, as you can see here, Raanta is giving up garbage, and they're expanding their leads in some of these games. So power play, 1-0, and then garbage. You're going to repeatedly see this trend. So if we can go forward now. So now they're up in this series, and now next game, power play goal, up 1-0 once again. So game 2, power play goal. Then we build on it with an awful goal on top of that. Game 4, 1-0 power play goal. Let's see how they build on that one. What do we got here? We have floating wrist shots, assuming that one wasn't tipped. I can't remember, but it gets even worse. So you're just going to see that trend continue. Wrist shot, awful rebound, smacked in. Can't get too angry at that one. Now let's go forward to game 5. Go back a little bit. As you can see, once again, they're trailing, haven't scored a goal on the road in God knows how long. Power plays on the ice. Panarin's about. You're just going to repeatedly see this 1-1. They end up losing that game because they were able to score no more goals. So now we go back to New York for game 6. What do we see here to start? I will say this, at least it's at even strength. How's that goal? Oh, unbelievable goal. You'll notice the shots are 8-2 Hurricanes in that game. So the trend, power play goals, awful goals. And the revisionist history would be, I mean, look at these. And that's another power play goal. So awful goal, power play goal to go up. The revisionist history, oh yeah, Rangers took care of them. Rangers were scoring power play goal after awful goal after power play goal. And the 5-on-5 game was dominated by Carolina. And I see that happening once again. And then even if you look at that game 7, you're talking about the rookie backup goalie who had to be put in there. And how do they score their first goal to get started? A power play goal puts them up 1-0. Then you get Carolina to chase, and then you can catch them once again. So that's how that series went down. Carolina controlled the entire series 5-on-5, and the Rangers power play was so lethal. It won them game after game after game. Couple that with the beyond awful goaltending of Raanta, and you get a Rangers series victory. The Rangers have home ice in this series, but like I said, Freddie Anderson. We can exit out of this now. Freddie Anderson, and I'm gonna make myself bigger once again. Freddie Anderson has been mostly stellar both last postseason, like he actually was matching Bobrovsky shot for shot, Well, one of the guys was pitching like 985 save percentage while the other guy was pitching like a 965. But he played great last postseason. He's played very well, I'd say, in the first round this postseason. And a lot of those floaters that you see going in there most likely aren't going to be going in. But the power play, the special teams advantage, I absolutely give to the Rangers. They've done it before, and they've proven that they can crack a top 5 penalty kill, which is what the Carolina Hurricanes are. And on the flip side, I don't trust the Canes, quote unquote, top 5 power play. And also, by the way, a red flag that I saw with the Canes last series, the Islanders, who had a bottom 3 power play the second half of the season, were able to score a few power play goals, including in game 5 in Carolina. So those, like, I give a goaltending advantage to the Rangers. I give a power play advantage to the Rangers, or special teams advantage to the Rangers. But to me, the 5-on-5 is such a disparity in quality. That's why I shift the overall series into Carolina's favor. It's not a coincidence. The sports books aren't idiots. There's a reason that they're minus 150 favorites on the road against the President's Trophy winner. They're not stupid. The Rangers were a minus goal differential at 5-on-5 until the final game of the regular season when they beat Ottawa. They were about to be the first President's Trophy winner in NHL history who didn't have a positive goal differential at 5-on-5. And as you get later in the playoffs, refs tend to call fewer penalties. Like you see last night's game, you see important games. You'll see that, I'm sure, tonight with some of these game 6s. If the refs swallow their whistles, that favors Carolina massively. And I've always theorized that the further you go in the playoffs, and this is a known thing, the refs don't want to be the ultimate decider of series. So we will see how that plays out. But there's a reason I picked Carolina to go before the season. The Rangers absolutely have a chance in this series. When I say that power play is of epic, legendary, all-time proportions, but what would truly shock me is if the Rangers outplay them and you see them take leads in multiple games, including game 1 at 5-on-5. Because Carolina is also very battle-tested. The Rangers had that one run 2 years ago, and they lost in the first round. Carolina has multiple conference finals. A lot of the burn of some of those failures. There's not a single moment in this series that's going to be too big for them. And some of their seasoned players who, the pressure is kind of on them. Also, Svechnikov didn't play last year, and he looked like he was shot out of a cannon in the opening series. Jake Guentzel had an awful series. I will say this. It's one of my theories that I'm kind of thinking about. When you have teams who are predicated on playing defense and winning low-scoring games, these were teams like the Winnipeg Jets and the Carolina Hurricanes. And because you're doing so well, you feel the need to supplement your team with offense by making some deadline acquisitions. Winnipeg traded for both Tyler Toffoli and Sean Monahan, and Carolina traded for Jake Guentzel and Evgeny Kuznetsov. I'm wondering if the acquisition of those guys on offense is worth the negativity, or not negativity, but the negative effects that it has on the defensive quality of the team, because you're built to win low-scoring games. Everyone has a buy-in top to bottom. All of a sudden, when you have Kuznetsov doing those big leg kicks and making mistakes that are giving the other team chances, like Tony DeAngelo is a great offensive player, but there's a reason he's the 7th defenseman. You make mistakes, one mistake, it changes changes the course of a whole game. You think about that last game that these teams played. It was a 1-0 game. One mistake literally would have been the entire game. So I wonder if maybe the Canes at 5-on-5 are a little more vulnerable than they would have been last year when they had no Svechnikov, no Guentzel, no Kuznetsov, because you get a full team buy-in, and that's why they completely obliterated the New Jersey Devils. And that will take me to one of my kind of last points about power play, even strength advantages, disadvantages. and that is the depth on Carolina. The guys on their third line and fourth line, many times throughout the season, have been on their top line and second line. Was the top scorer from the previous series Stefan Nason? Stefan Nason he ended the series on the fourth line. He was on the second line at some point. Jarvis is currently on the third line. He was like a 35 goal scorer. So they have unbelievable flexibility up and down their line. I've seen Teravainen on the fourth line, top power play. Currently, Kuznetsov's on the fourth line, second power play. Was he tied for leading goal scorer? So that's unbelievable. That anybody saying that Capo Caco and Alex Wenberg and these type of guys provide the same type of depth that Carolina has, they're just flat out lying to you. They just are. One big factor, in my opinion, because like D'Angelo, he can be another guy that makes many defensive mistakes. Brett Pesce got injured in the first round. Rumor has it he'll be back for this series. That's pretty big to me, because if the Carolina Hurricanes, if they up their level of play from, you got to love Islander fans, by the way. Like, that team that I saw, they're losing. Did you watch last year? Did the Carolina team from round one look like the Carolina team from round two? Everyone always used to crap on them for emptying the tank during the season. Now you don't see their best early in the season or early in the playoffs, and now everyone craps on them as a beatable team. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I believe that 5-on-5 truly is what would win this series for Carolina, and I think will win the series for Carolina. And that will bring me to the last point. I'm dying to see how Artemi Panarin, how he plays 5-on-5, because they're going to focus on shutting down that line and the top line. And they don't have third lines and fourth lines that are going to continually like generate supplementary scoring chances and things of that nature, unless they find it in themselves. They get hot. Anything is possible in the NHL. But from what we've seen so far, the top six, they have to carry that Rangers team just as they've done in the previous couple of years. Can Panarin crack a good defensive team at 5-on-5 if they're not getting a lot of power plays? We know that he's going to do what he needs to do on the power play. But is he going to be able to create a ton of chances 5-on-5? Because I had Ranger fans texting me like, what the hell is Panarin doing? I mean, this is a guy who is criticized for being way too passive last year. He came into this season, seemingly shot everything, scored more goals than he's ever scored, shot way more than he's ever shot. And in the middle of that Washington series, 0.0 assists, 0 shots, game 2. 0.0 assists, 0 shots, game 2. And when you look at his game log before the season ended, you would never see that. So I just look at that as like, it's a little, just something to pay attention to. And I think that was the last bullet point I had here. Yes, depth scoring on the Sweet Chin board. So now, for all you aardvarks, gargoyles, and people who don't care about hockey assessment, it means nothing to you. You're watching the NBA playoffs, and all you want to do is make money like a virtual Viking. Then let me bring you to some series props. And at the very end, no, I'm not going to do that. I was thinking about maybe talking about the Game 7 between Toronto and Boston, but not if the title of this video is Series Preview, Canes versus Rangers. By the way, if you just heard the sound of me sipping that and gulping that, I feel bad for you, because I hate loud plates banging. I hate the sound of people chewing, and I hate the sound of a live gulp on a stream. Yeah. Trivial things can bother me from time to time. You know what's great? There's probably a Ranger fan watching. Maybe he was pissed off. He probably was happy in the beginning, and then he was probably pissed off that I picked Carolina. And I think he's re-happy again because he despises the sound of it's gross. Anyway, most points in the series for Rangers Carolina. What I always look for here, little sniff theory. Got to give me a guy on the top line and the top power play. Top line for the Rangers is kind of a quarter. They have a 1A, 1B. So the guy that I'm going to choose for this, he needs to be on the top power play, and he needs to have the best price of the guys who will see all those opportunities. So the best two prices I'm seeing on each side. First, for the Rangers, Adam Fox. He's obviously tied to almost every power play goal because he distributes his right to Panarin, distributes to his left to Mika Zibanejad. But I think the best value by a mile here is Andrei Svechnikov, who really looked shot out of a cannon in that first series. And Jarvis got moved down to line 3. He's on the top line with Gensel and Aho. He was more involved with the top line goals than the both of them. Maybe him and Aho. Gensel kind of disappeared in that series. And as you can see, if you scroll down a little bit, early in the series, they moved Teravainen to the second power play, and now Svechnikov is working alongside Burns. He's usually on the right side of the power play, and these are so many touches for him. I mean, that line grades out as one of the best lines in the league. And when you look at all the prices, you're going to have to contend with Panarin for sure. But to me, I'm looking at price versus opportunity. And he has every last opportunity to have them. Like, if the Canes win this series, the problem with them, obviously 5-on-5, as you saw in round 1, the production came from all over the place. But the price on those Rangers is just no good. How can Trocheck outscore Panarin as line mates and on the same power play when he's in the bumper and Panarin is the one controlling on the outsides? Zibanejad has an outside shot the same way he has a good outside shot on the power play, but that would require him producing at 5-on-5. And did you see any clips of him at 5-on-5 in that last little segment that we played against the Hurricanes? So that's why I think Fox, with maybe, a little more playing time than those guys, has a good opportunity. And Svechnikov by far is the best value at plus 2,200. And I don't mind telling you that because I already took it last night. So if that price goes down, I already got mine in. Next up would be the series most shots on goal. This one, you gotta hate taking the absolute favorite. But because of that criticism, and because he plays the full 2 power play minutes, you gotta think Panarin is going to be shooting a ton. If nothing else, even if they lose the series, just so he can say, look, I shot. You told me to shoot. I shot. I hate taking the favorite in a prop market like this, and I'll try to find a secondary one. But I think Panarin's the best bet here. The Canes split up their opportunities too much. One guy who I have slight interest in is Marty Necas. He gets secondary power play time, and he's kind of the best shooter on his own line, and he has the opportunity to slide up line 2, line 10. He's a guy with the most upside who's not on the top line. You can argue Seth Jarvis, but as long as, and you can argue Zibanejad, but to me, I think I hate giving you the favorite. I really do. But at least he's not listed first. It's you can't take the Canes, man. Go look at their shots on goal. There's not a single guy. Did Brady Shea lead them in shots in that first series? But then again, these are just carny bets and whatnot. There is one bet that I wanted to give out before it's too late. I think you guys have to do this one on FanDuel, and it's like an exacta matchup. I think the Dallas Stars to beat the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers really would have to mess it up not to be in the Western Conference Finals. But I believe the way they play, it's too power play reliant. But they don't have Shesterkin in there in case that's not working. It's probably not going to be here, but on FanDuel, they have like an exacta where you can pick the exact 2 teams. I think taking the Dallas Stars to beat the Edmonton Oilers at like plus 800 or plus 700, I think it's a good value. And at the same time, I'm also taking the Golden Knights to just meet the Oilers. I'm basically trying to take teams who will play the Oilers because the Oilers have such a good chance of getting there. And I think the two best bets, because Colorado is going to be favored in that next series. Yeah. Oh my God. I was just saying, when was the last time you saw President's Trophy winner favored or underdogs in round 2? You're going to get the number 1 seed in the West, underdogs in round 2. Because if you look at Western Conference winner, but then we'll see. I'm pretty, maybe it'll be even. Maybe it'll be roughly even. But the Stars to beat the Oilers at plus 700, and then the Golden Knights to just face it's called correct Western Conference Finals matchup. Golden Knights versus the Oilers is plus 1,400. And I think those two are worth a sniff. But Andy, only one of them can. Yeah, I'm betting on the team that does make it through between the two, because the Knights can easily win at home tonight. And then game 7's a coin flip, and they obviously don't mind big situations. They have a lot of big game players over there. How long have we been? Does it even say here? I think that's mostly what I wanted to do. Is there anything else that I wanted to say about tonight or over the weekend? All season, all year, last year, the year before, I told you guys, clenched ass cheeks is the way to go during playoffs. If you're ever in question, if you're ever in doubt, if you're past game 5 of round 1, always click the under, because the ass cheeks get clenched. The refs don't want to decide games. Both teams usually get one solo power play, and the game ends up 2-1 or 3-2. And that's what I'll leave you with. Hopefully this thing worked properly. Hopefully you heard me. Hopefully you saw some of those Rangers. And thank you to Johnny Rangers fan who put every goal in the Carolina series on tape. Much appreciated. You guys can find me everywhere. Andy Francess, A-N-D-Y, the country France, and double S. I know that sounds like a double J, Jeff Jarrett gimmicky way to say your name, but that's my name on every platform: Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. It's not the real Andy _2.0 Francis. It's just Andy Francis on everything. Hopefully I see you around, as I probably won't answer to your angry messages about God knows what. All right, guys, I will be back for another stream in hopefully the near future.